The most important piece of equipment in your lighting kit is a high quality key light, and a powerful spotlight fixture with a nice big softbox is one of the easiest and quickest ways to achieve that beautiful, flattering light on a subject. Today we're looking at the GVM bicolor SD-300B to see how it fills that role and how it compares to other products on the market. Before we jump in, I just want to mention that this product was sent to me for free, but this is not sponsored or paid in any way. All opinions here are my own, and they're not even seeing this video before it gets published. Out of the box, you get the light itself, a Bowens mount reflector, a power cable, power supply, mounting strap for the power supply, and the manual. I'm extremely happy that they have included a carrying case with this light. This is an issue I had with the Amaran 200D when I bought it, that I just essentially had to keep the entire box because they didn't sell a case for it at the time. It's not a fantastic case. It does have some weird quirks, like all the foam inserts come out very easily, and none of them are really form-fitted to the equipment, but it is still very durable and it does fit everything in it. I wouldn't be worried about my equipment being damaged, and that is the main thing. One of the main selling points here is that it is insanely bright. It is 300 watts, which translates in this case to about 13,000 lux on full brightness at 5600 Kelvin. It has a CRI and TLCI of over 97, so color rendering is extremely accurate on this, and you won't have to deal with any green or magenta shift. One of my favorite features is the fact that it has stepless dimming in increments of 0.1%, so you can get very fine adjustment over your brightness and actually roll it off all the way down to just 0.1% brightness. The light has three modes: a simple color temperature mode, a preset mode that they're calling source matching, and an effects mode. Because it's bicolor, we can actually run it at 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 6800 Kelvin, which is really good for emulating that bluish hue that you get in early morning light before the sun has really crossed the horizon. The two dials on the back allow you to adjust your various settings, with 4 additional buttons for added menu navigation, and a cool button that can actually temporarily increase cooling by upping the fan speed. It uses a very standard Bowens mount, so you can put any sort of lighting modifiers that you would want on there, like reflectors, softboxes, and more. Something that stands out to me is that the fixture comes with DMX in and out. This opens up a whole world of being able to automate this light, which as someone who shoots music videos is very important to me, but this is also great for live event work or theater productions, so you have that option available to you. This is not something you typically see on the consumer or prosumer lights, so it's nice to have the more professional features at such a low price point. Before I get to showing some examples of this light in use and talking about why I do really like this, we kind of need to get through some pretty big negatives first. The source matching mode, in my opinion, is frankly pretty pointless. It's very handy to be able to have quick access to different color temperatures, sure, but this is executed very poorly. For example, there's a preset in here called sodium vapor, which is meant to emulate sodium vapor bulbs. And if you're not familiar with that, you're most commonly going to see them in those sort of orange yellow street lights that are very common. This preset has two problems that bother me. First is that those are generally considered to be 2200 Kelvin, and this light only goes down to 2700 Kelvin. So right off the bat, you're not matching the right color. Sodium vapor bulbs are notorious for having horrible color accuracy, horrible color rendering. So if you light a scene with sodium vapor bulbs, you basically lose a ton of color information. Everything looks very monochromatic and just orange. Whereas an LED, even if you could get it to 2200 Kelvin, you're going to see a lot more color information in your scene. It'll be easier to discern what the different colors are on the clothes that your subject's wearing, on background objects, and things like that. Now, this is obviously a good thing that LEDs have great color accuracy, but because they have great color accuracy, and because this light doesn't go down to 2200 Kelvin, it's a real stretch to be able to say that this is source matching. So not only can you not get the right color source with this light, but you also can't get the same look as that source. On top of that, some of these presets are just redundant. You have a sodium vapor, candle, and sunset preset, all of which are just 2700 Kelvin. So why are there 3 of them? Why is there all this marketing that says it can match 12 different sources, when in reality, some of those are also duplicates in the first place? My advice to GVM on this one would be to ditch the source matching marketing nonsense and just get rid of the duplicates, call the presets presets, and label them based on their color temperature and nothing else. Because if you're buying a light like this, you already know what color temperature tungsten is, and sunlight is. The biggest disappointment in this light for me is the effects. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a look at the fire effect from my Nanlite Pavotube 2. Here is the fire effect from my Falcon Eyes F7, a $99 pocket-sized RGB light. And here's the fire effect in the 300B. I wish I could say that this was just a bad example, but as you can see here, so many of these effects are equally poor. So what makes these so bad? Well, first of all, some of these effects have such a short loop that it's clearly artificial if you're watching a shot for more than like 5 seconds. Other effects are longer, but they don't have the right dynamic speed and rhythm to make the effects look realistic. And some just have a flat out incorrect lighting curve, like the fireworks, which should taper off slowly, but instead have this harsh stepped progression to them that doesn't make any sense. You have stepless dimming in your light, so why is the stepless dimming not present in the effects? Now there is a speed setting called random that you could use to make things a bit more dynamic and interesting, but even when I set it to random, it doesn't seem to vary at all that much. It is completely unacceptable to have effects this unrealistic, this bad in 2024. Especially at this price point. Again, not to be harsh, but it does really feel like GVM just added effects just to say that they had them, so that on paper it looks like they compete with other light fixtures that also have effects, but it completely overlooks how good are those effects, how realistic and usable are they really. The reason I'm so upset about this is because for another 50 bucks, I would gladly pay for fantastic usable effects. If the effects in this were as good as something like the Amaran lineup, I would easily say this is the best spotlight under $500. It really feels like they're just trying to pad out their spec sheet and use flashy marketing to entice you, when they're really just adding extras that are either completely useless or just don't do what they claim it's gonna do. All right, I'm done the segment hating on the negatives about this light, and now I wanna talk about the things that I really enjoy about it. The power output here is insane. The example you're seeing on screen was done at 0.1%. I'm not kidding, we used the lowest possible setting here with the GVM 23-inch softbox on, which already has 2 layers of diffusion built into it. We've got the light set at about 45-degree angle here and set to a cooler color temperature of about 6,000 to match the overcast window light that's coming in. Even with a smaller softbox like this, we're still able to get a nice, soft, flattering look on the face, partly due to the 2 layers of diffusion, but also by bringing that light close to him and making it a much larger relative light source. It's creating a beautiful wrap around the front of his face compared to just having the window light and nothing else. Our second example here is a night interior scene of our subject reading, and right now we have some nice light sources in the background, but the scene is way too dark. So we just want to bring the overall level up, so we're pointing the 300B away from him and bouncing it up into the ceiling. Once again, this is on 0.1%, which is stunning to me. The light can be controlled over Bluetooth via an app, and while I am ridiculously sick of every company having their own app and me having to have like a dozen of them on my phone, I do really appreciate the fact that this is one of the better apps I've used. It's very simple, has a clean and clear layout, and has almost 0 latency that I can tell. So when I make an adjustment on the app, it is immediately reflected on the light. One downside to the app over using the physical light is that in the effects section, if I have an effect going right now and I go to change to a different effect, as soon as I tap on that other effect, it turns the light off. So there's this break of no lighting whatsoever before I actually hit start and trigger the next effect. If I do the same thing but I do it on the light, it doesn't turn off in between, it'll just keep playing that first effect until I trigger the second effect. While the construction of the light is definitely what I would expect in terms of durability, there are some minor issues that, while they're not concerning, they are just a little bit annoying. The buttons on the back are mounted in such a way that they feel very cheap and loose. It's not like they're gonna fall off, but they rotate and actually rattle quite a bit, as you can probably hear. They don't seem to be in danger of coming off or anything like that. It's just weird that they feel so cheap and are mounted in such a weird way. I also feel that your main dials are a little bit too easy to actuate, like they take too little force to turn. But there's another weird issue that I guess kind of compensates for that, which is that it actually takes 2 clicks of the dial to get it to go up or down in an increment of 0.1%. I don't know why it takes 2 clicks, but I guess that kind of cancels the first issue out, but I would prefer that it just go in proper increments of 1 and that the dials are a little bit harder to rotate. I don't have any concerns about the overall build quality, like anything getting broken or falling off, so I'm satisfied with that. I love that the screen is extremely clear and easy to read from any angle. This is an issue I had with the Amaran 200D as well as other lights I've used, where as soon as you view it from a bit of an off angle, it's so difficult to see what you're actually doing. When you're working quickly, you don't want that added hassle. The fan on this thing is super quiet as far as I can tell. I haven't been able to run it for hours on end at full blast, but I did have it on full blast for about half an hour and didn't hear any noticeable fan noise whatsoever, which is great. If this fan does get loud being on full blast for a long period of time, I'm okay with that, because if I have this light on full blast, I'm probably not shooting an intimate interview where there's a mic right next to the light anyways. So let me wrap this up with my final thoughts, both the good and the bad, where I feel this is a good recommendation and where I feel it's not. With so many other spotlight fixtures on the market, why would you buy this one? We already know it's absolutely not for the effects, but in my opinion, the main job of this light, the thing that I'm buying it for in the first place, is what it excels at. You're getting an insanely bright, high CRI, bicolor spotlight with DMX support and Bluetooth app control, all at a ridiculously good price. The app is super easy to use and responsive, the fan stays quiet, it's really durable, it comes with a carrying case. Like, these are all fantastic things that I want in a light like this. So if you're like me and your main goal is just to have a really high quality spotlight that you can use for things like interviews or as your main key light in scenes, this is absolutely what I would recommend at this price point. For $349 US, this is a really good deal. If you really need a spotlight that has good quality built-in effects, then I recommend maybe lowering the power output and getting something like an Amaran 200D or a small rig RC2020. The other option would be raising your budget and grabbing something like an RC350, although that's quite a jump in price at $899, and it might be wiser to just grab a dedicated light for effects or even a couple small pocket lights depending on what your needs are. But if you're like me and your main concern is just having a very high quality key light, you really can't beat this for the price. This is what I would recommend, especially at $349. You're getting a ton of power, really high CRI, all the most important specs are there. I'm completely overwhelmed by the power and quality of this light and completely underwhelmed by the effects. I really hope GVM just kind of drops the marketing hype around all the effects and extras, or just spends the extra money and gets better effects in these things, because if they do, they will be sweeping the floor with any competition remotely close to this price bracket. If you have questions about this, let me know, but otherwise I will see you in the next video.